Hello and welcome to our webinar, Graphic Novels for All. I'm Susan Maguire, Senior Editor, Collection Management and Library Outreach here at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by typing the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble accessing these materials, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a button for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the captions icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. From there, you can select show or hide captions from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting caption settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates the standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Kathy Taylor, National Accounts Manager, Trade and Special Accounts at Tuttle, Ashley Kronsberg, Marketing Manager for Diamond Book Distributors, Courtney Watkins, Marketing Manager at Andrews McMeel Publishing, Morgana Santilli, Sales and Marketing Coordinator, and Ingrid Lorenzi, Marketing Assistant, both at Yen Press, and Katie Sains, Director of Sales, Book Market at Oni Press. First, we'll hear from Kathy Taylor. Kathy has recently joined Tuttle as National Accounts Manager, Trade and Special Accounts. She comes from a decade's worth of experience working in independent bookselling, most recently from Northshire Bookstore, where she filled many roles, including remainder buyer and retail manager. Her focus at Tuttle will include working with independent bookstore accounts, gift and museum accounts, and library accounts. Thank you for joining us, Kathy.
Everyone, my name is Kathy Taylor, and I'm the National Accounts Manager at Tuttle Publishing. And I'm excited to share a few of Tuttle's amazing graphic novels with you today. So the first series I'm going to feature is Tuttle's 3-volume set of Haruki Murakami graphic novel adaptations by J.C. Devaney and illustrated by PMGL. This series is the first to adapt several of Murakami's best-loved short stories into manga style. The first volume, published last October, presents 4 short stories and was included in Publishers Weekly's list of best manga titles for 2023. The second volume, published this past April, presents 3 short stories, while the third and final volume, to be published in April of next year, presents the 2 short stories Scheherazade and Sleep and is recommended for readers aged 18 and up. This series has been very popular for Tuttle, and Murakami's new novel publishing next month should continue to drive reader interest in his work. These graphic adaptations are striking, lively, and the perfect introduction to Murakami's extensive body of literature. Tuttle also has a growing library of graphic novel adaptations of classic Japanese literature, many of which we have adapted for the first time into this format. One of the titles here today is Akutagawa's Rashomon and Other Stories. Stunning artwork brings to life 4 Akutagawa short stories, including the famous Rashomon, the inspiration for the classic Kurosawa film. Akutagawa is known as the father of the Japanese short story, and the graphic adaptations of these iconic tales are action-packed, thrilling page-turners and are recommended for readers aged 16 and up. Continuing with Akutagawa, we have a preview of our newest title based on his work, Hellscreen, to be published this coming March. Based on a traditional tale, the plot centers on a great yet mean-spirited artist whose one redeeming quality is his love for his daughter. After being commissioned by a local lord to create a hell screen depicting punishments in the afterlife, the artist begins to descend into rage, obsession, and madness. It's a gripping horror story about the lengths an artist will go to for the sake of his art, and is recommended for readers 16 and up. The next classic Japanese author on our list is Kenji Miyazawa. The Restaurant of Many Orders and Other Stories is a manga edition of 3 modern fables written by the beloved author Miyazawa, best known for his masterful storytelling and poetic imagery. In the book's title story, a pair of young men stumbles upon a mysterious restaurant deep in the woods and, while following an increasingly strange series of orders while waiting for their dinner, begins to realize something more sinister may be afoot. Charming illustrations vivify Miyazawa's world of sentient stars and enchanted forests and will appeal to imaginative readers of all ages. Next, we have a preview of our newest adaptation of a Miyazawa work, A Night on the Galactic Railway, to be published this coming March. This title features Miyazawa's beloved novella, a powerful and fantastical journey to the stars that NPR has called a modern classic. 2 boys struggling with loss and loneliness are transported by train through the galaxy on an exploration of the meaning of life in this rich adaptation, which is appropriate for readers aged 12 and up. Moving on, we have a manga adaptation of Soseki Natsume's Bochan, one of the most widely read novels in Japan. The story follows Bochan as he leaves college and ventures into the world. It's a searingly funny and relatable portrait of his quest to survive and navigate society while remaining true to his beliefs. Soseki's coming-of-age tale is often compared to The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, and the author himself is sometimes called the Japanese Mark Twain. This classic story will appeal to today's young adult readers and is recommended for ages 14 and up. 2 additional Soseki adaptations by Tuttle illustrate his classics Kokoro and I Am a Cat. Kokoro is a timeless psychological study of a young man's deep alienation from society, and this novel has sold millions of copies in Japan. I Am a Cat is a beloved comic masterpiece and Soseki's most popular novel, one which has inspired many Japanese authors, including Murakami. These English language manga versions are helping make these books accessible to a new generation of foreign readers. Tuttle has also adapted works by Osamu Dazai, whose works remain incredibly popular worldwide. The Setting Sun, set in the aftermath of World War II, portrays the inspiring story of one woman's determination to survive in a fast-changing world with universal themes that continue to resonate with readers today. No Longer Human, one of Japan's best-selling novels of all time, depicts a young man contending with the disintegration of his aristocratic provincial family and the impact of the new post-war world. Again, these manga editions offer the ideal gateway to these Japanese classics and are recommended for readers 16 and up. Now we pivot to a real-life figure, Miyamoto Musashi. Musashi was the greatest swordsman who ever lived, a samurai warrior renowned for his fighting prowess and for never having been defeated in combat. Fast-paced and action-packed, The Real Musashi depicts the life story of one of the most exciting figures in Japanese history. Continuing in that same historical vein, we also have Musashi's Book of Five Rings, the manga edition. Whereas the previous title told the story of Musashi's life, this manga specifically focuses on his revolutionary guide to military strategy, the Book of Five Rings. Musashi's life culminated in writing this Bible of Japanese military strategy, and this book highlights his motivations and philosophies. Japan's Longest Day adapts the classic 1965 title of the same name by Kazutoshi Hondo, a book that Publishers Weekly called an incredible story of intrigue and rebellion. This manga edition is a tense retelling of the day immediately preceding Japan's surrender in World War II, when a group of army officers sought to prevent the emperor's surrender. Pivoting away from history now, the next title on our list is Tales from the Kyoto Ghost Story Priest, a fascinating look at the ghostly world of Kyoto from the perspective of Dayun Miki, a real-life Zen Buddhist priest. When the people of Kyoto are terrorized by spirits, demons, ghosts, and monsters, they seek out Miki's guidance. Well known throughout Japan for his ghostly dealings, Miki retells the stories of the desperate people he counsels and protects from these otherworldly creatures. And then our next two titles are perfect for young adults. Tuttle has adapted into graphic novel format Edgar Calabias Samar's Janice C. Long series, about which Bong Bong Books Review wrote, "If Britons have Harry Potter and Americans have Percy Jackson, we Filipinos have Janice C. Long." The Struggle for Kelly Butin is the second volume in the series, which tells the story of a teenage boy unraveling the mythical mysteries of a deadly video game. It's geared toward readers aged 16 and up. A Small Change by Rae-Yun Kim is a gentle, heartwarming graphic novel that sketches a young woman's daily life over the course of a year. Living on her own for the first time, she embarks on a journey of small, joyful changes sparked by her decision to tie up her hair one day. And that one's recommended for readers aged 12 and up. And then our next young adult title is Lala, the Memory Collector by Sui Kono, a poignant tale about an unusual girl named Lala who serves as the collector for a mysterious group called the Memory Clan. These enchanted beings have one purpose in life. They visit recently deceased or dying humans to collect and preserve their memories. Lala, though, has difficulty following their sacred rule of not getting involved in human affairs, and her meddling risks her losing everything and everyone she loves. Recommended for ages 12 and up. Our final graphic novel is a parenting manual geared towards teaching preteens and teens how to stay safe online through a fun manga style. The author is a former police detective, and through his book's engaging mix of comics and sidebars, kids and their parents can learn to navigate a host of threats, including bullying, identity theft, and screen addiction. This is the ideal book for parents to share with their children about using smartphones in a positive way. And then the final titles we wanted to quickly highlight are our popular drawing instruction books. Many were authored by well-known illustrators and artists, and they're the perfect books for kids and adults who are looking to try their hand at or hone their skills in drawing graphic novels or manga. And thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Next, we'll hear from Ashley Kronsberg. Ashley is the marketing manager for Diamond Book Distributors and the editor of Diamond Bookshelf magazine. She has been with Diamond for over 6 years and oversees all lifecycle marketing for our Diamond book market client publishers. Along with creating and executing marketing plans for key titles, Ashley curates, edits, and publishes Diamond Bookshelf magazine, a triannual magazine providing resources to librarians and educators about comics and graphic novels. Thanks for being here today, Ashley.
Thank you so much. Hello, my precious book lovers. I am so excited to introduce you to your new favorite story. If you'd like to follow along with the catalog, you can scan the QR code on the left here. And if you're interested in reading copies of our books, you can scan the QR code on the right. Next. If you aren't familiar, we at DBD proudly produce Diamond Bookshelf, our pop culture outreach program that provides comprehensive information on all things pop culture across publishers, including lesson plans, interviews, digital review copies, core lists, peer reviews, and a triannual magazine. You can scan this QR code to read the latest issue. Next. It's beginning to look a lot like mayhem in this new holiday adventure from Dynamite Kids. Tour guide Yanni the Yeti is performing their duties when a slew of silly and playful penguins show up. Will Yanni be able to finish giving us a tour of the North Pole, or will the penguins cause too much pandemonium? Stop That Penguin is sliding onto shelves this fall for ages 3 to 5. Next. Mr. Zip is the iconic mascot of the U.S. Postal Service, and he's back with an all-new search and find activity book, featuring major cities, marinas, and more from all over the United States, whereas Mr. Zip sports 145 different items for readers to find, encouraging focus and exploration skills. Dynamite Kids is sending this one to your doorstep priority mail this fall for your Wonderstruck readers ages 5 to 9. Next. Speaking of Wonderstruck, 11-year-old Ash is lacking it. Between math tests, her nagging mom, and an Amma who knows nothing about her, Ash has nothing to look forward to. That is, until she discovers her Amma is a superhero. Experience the generational phenomenon in this funny and heartwarming story about family and acceptance. Growing up and growing old is never easy, but we can still do it together. Amazing Ash and Superhero Amma Book 1 is available now, courtesy of our new friends at Singapore-based publisher Difference Engine. We recommend it for your readers ages 8 to 12. Next. Befriend, battle, train, and evolve in your new favorite collectible Mons book. Aldemon is an RPG guide detailing over 160 distinctive elemental creatures. And while this system is playable on both 5th edition and Pathfinder 2 systems, Aldemon is unique in its adaptability. The Aldemon creatures blend into inanimate objects, allowing you to incorporate these buddies into not only any role-playing game, but any activity, including any of your book clubs or your fairs. Battle Zoo Aldemon is coming this fall from Roll for Combat for ages 13 and up. Next. We know you love manga, and we know you love classics, and now we present to you manga biographies. Launching this new initiative from Udon Entertainment comes the humble tale of Charles M. Schultz, the creator of Snoopy and the Peanuts. The manga biography series explore the fascinating lives of legendary figures who accomplished extraordinary feats, all told through the fantastic lens of Japanese manga storytelling. This one will be out this month for readers 12 and up. Next. Eye-opening, frightful, full of life. These are just some of the ways Jeff Smith, the creator of the best-selling Bone series, used to describe our next title, Orchard of the Tame. Coming from new publisher Pegamoose Press, we are in awe of the way this tale steps into its story and walks us through the complex themes of trauma, toxic relationships, and gaslighting in a way that is approachable. Our protagonist, River Siren, is an emotionally engaging mermaid who is positive and cheerful, yet does not shy away from feeling her full range of emotions. Always standing up for what she believes in, River will have readers hooked from the first page. Orchard of the Tame will be available this fall for readers 12 and up. Next. In the great expanse where what's lost is found, fate, memories, and love intertwines as Kyra and Eric embark on a daring rescue mission to save a little boy from death's clutches. Afterlife explores themes of love and duty and how they conflict in unfamiliar scenarios. The ethereal art adds a layer of complexity to the tale so immersive you'll find it hard to break away. Afterlife, The Boy Next Realm is coming this fall from Difference Engine for readers 13 and up. Next. Even the most imperfect journey can lead to beauty. Navigating the particular trauma of female hair loss, Teresa comes to terms with her new reality with humor and self-reflection. This prize-winning graphic memoir explores the relationship to the self and others through immune and autoimmune experiences. Bald will be available from Graphic Mundi for readers 13 and up. Next. Romeo and Juliet are back like you've never seen them before, at each other's throats. But how do the world's most famous lovers become sworn enemies in a duel to the death? This new spin-off from best-selling series Kill Shakespeare tells all in juicy detail. Romeo and Juliet will be coming from Gemstone Publishing for readers 13 and up. Next. If you were at ALA, I hope you were able to snag a physical advanced reader copy of this next title. This is the first Pathfinder novel in years, and it promises a world-changing tale of epic scale that not only affects the literary world, but the Pathfinder game world as well. Gods are not meant to die. It's been over a century since the last one did, but now a new era is on the horizon as yet another god has died. His murder broadcast across the skies, 4 veteran adventurers, including cleric Kyra and her wife elven rogue Maricel, must race against time and fate to prevent the greatest threat to their world from escaping an impenetrable prison in the chaos. God's Reign is coming this fall from Paizo for readers 16 and up. Next. Our next title is a Junior Library Guild pick. The Library Mule of Cordoba tells the story of what happens when saving the world's knowledge from destruction depends on the worst mule in history. Follow along as radical clergymen attempt to create the biggest bonfire ever of the world's books and experience how a young copyist and his lazy, overburdened bibliomule set out to cross nearly all of Spain with mercenaries in hot pursuits. The Library Mule of Cordoba will be available from Ablaze for readers 13 and up. Next. At the end of our time here, I'd like to invite you to dive into King Arthur and the Ladies of the Lake, a riveting graphic novel that reimagines the Arthurian legends through stunning watercolor and explores the rich tapestry of this timeless tale like never before. King Arthur and the Ladies of the Lake will be available from Black Panel Press for readers 12 and up. Next. While that's not all I have coming up this season, that is all I have time to talk about. If you have any questions or would like to read any of these books, you can access everything on Edelweiss Plus, or if you'd like, you can email me at kashley@diamondcomics.com. Thank you so much for your time, and I can't wait to chat next season.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Next, we'll hear from Courtney Watkins. Courtney joined Andrews McMeel 5 years ago after returning to Kansas City. As the author of 2 children's books, she is delighted to be in the mix of hundreds more through her work in children's marketing. Besides writing and illustrating, Courtney loves being outside on a trail, in her garden, or on a tennis court. The floor is yours, Courtney.
Terrific. Thank you. It's so nice to be in the mix with such stellar people and terrific titles. I'm happy to share some of our children's titles as well as adult titles. So without further ado, here we go. Our first title for children, Mac, Moon, and the Pets. A great way to start 2025 is with Mac, Moon, and the Pets. It publishes January 7th in both paperback and hardcover. This is a hilarious action-packed space adventure for readers ages 7 to 12 and perfect for fans of The Last Kids on Earth and Zeta the Space Girl. Mac dreams of space, so he can escape to the one place he is sure is full of fun adventures and lacking in uninspired teachers and school bullies. So it's epic when he discovers that his 3 pets are actually secret agents. But it's not so epic when Mac finds out they're trailing an evil space ferret named Barbara, who's intent upon destroying Earth. The humor is especially good in this one, and the pets each have funny personalities. And kids always love when animals are central characters interacting in human ways. The story is oddball, it's slapstick at times, and totally family-friendly. And with valuable messaging about being yourself, being honest, and being sympathetic to another's situation. To that point, the art contributes to character development. It is subtle and it's really well done. There are panels showing Stacy, who is Mac's bully, sitting all alone with empty chairs where her parents should be. And then there's the love for family. A favorite character is Mac's baby sister. She is fiercely devoted to her big brother. Certainly a message that parents will also love. Mac is a terrific addition to our middle grade, full-color graphic novel adventures. And next, Operation Cover-Up. It's a full-color graphic novel for ages 7 to 11 coming out January 21 in both paperback and hardcover. The story follows Cy, who is a prankster, and Nick, a smarty pants, as they both start 5th grade at a new school in the middle of the school year. So when Cy is mistaken as the smart kid and Nick as the funny kid, both are willing to take on these new identities to make new friends. But they soon discover that this is difficult to pull off. So Cy turns to Nick to help him be a brainiac, and Nick turns to Cy to help him be the class clown. And Operation Cover-Up begins. It's a fresh, one of the fresh messages that is in the story. One that we love is, if you want to discover what you're good at, find out what you enjoy failing at. So in the end, the secret switch around is uncovered. But Cy and Nick also uncover who they really are and embrace what they love to do. And because all of the characters are animals, readers can focus on feelings and experiences. This is a terrific debut from Tate Godwin, with cleverly woven storylines that are both funny and sweet. There's major visual appeal and additional positive messages, just perfect for this age reader. So the next addition to our graphic novel classics is Heidi, coming out March 11th. This is the first time Heidi has been adapted as a graphic novel, and it's only available in paperback. This is a gorgeous and thoughtful retelling of the beloved story about Heidi, a young orphan sent to live with her curmudgeonly grandfather in the remote mountains of the Swiss Alps. She flourishes in the fresh mountain air with her friend Peter and 2 pet goats. But when her grandfather refuses to let her go to school, her aunt sends her to Frankfurt to serve as a companion for Clara, a lonely girl who uses a wheelchair. In this thoughtful adaptation, author Maria Marsden reminds us of the joys and wonders of being a child and the beauty of childhood friendships. By updating this timeless tale, we aim to introduce children to classic literature in a format they are really comfortable with. In addition, special care is given to the representation of disabled characters in the story, emphasizing inclusion and subtly countering ableist tropes while remaining faithful to the original story. Heidi also includes information on the original author, Johanna Spiri, Swiss folklore, and life in the Alps. As well, there's a brief history of wheelchairs included. Heidi, a graphic novel, celebrates the joy of storytelling, the wonders of nature, and the healing power of kindness. We especially appreciate artist Ofrid's warm folk art-inspired style. And we're looking forward to June 3rd when Seeker Society, an epic original full-color graphic novel for ages 8 to 12, comes out in simultaneous paperback and hardback. It's packed with adventure, suspense, and kids with magic powers. The story is centered around Fern, Jordan, and Zach, 3 students at Shackleton School for Seekers. This is a school for students with special abilities. The 3 students get selected to go on a mysterious class trip with their teacher. And a big reason why we love this book is because while there are tons of children's books with superpowers, there has never been one like this. Each student is equipped with their own unique ability. And trust me, there are definitely some unique abilities. The kids, aka the Seekers, have explorer-based powers rather than combat-based like the Avengers. Fern has the ability to hear voices from the past. Jordan is able to see the past, and his uncle, who is a chronic gambler, takes advantage of his ability. And lastly, there's Zach, the youngest of the 3, who has bounced around many foster homes. He can instantly translate any language in his head, and this becomes handy when living with other kids from diverse backgrounds. Fern, Jordan, and Zach, despite their different upbringings, must figure out how to work together, sync their abilities in order to survive the hostile environment and the seeker's equally hostile rivals, the keepers. Okay, now here comes a debut graphic novel from Venezuelan creator Juan E. Zambrano, Pacheco and the Witch of the Mountain. It's a full-color graphic novel for ages 8 to 12, publishing June 17th in both paperback and hardcover. Not only does this graphic novel have a wonderful story, but it's packed with great themes for kids and teachers alike. The story is about a Venezuelan boy named Pacheco, obviously, and all Pacheco has ever wanted to do is practice witchcraft. But there are 2 problems with this wish. Pacheco is both a boy and a commoner, and neither are allowed to practice witchcraft. Although this will make Pacheco's goal difficult to achieve, he is determined to help his family make ends meet. So he finds an outcast who begrudgingly teaches him the ways of the witch. And as I mentioned before, we love this graphic novel because of the multitude of themes, one of them being gender roles. There are tons of children's stories where a girl wants to do something that's traditionally reserved for boys, but Pacheco does the old switcheroo. He wants to do something that's traditionally only for girls, and that's practice witchcraft. This story also preaches patience. At first, Pacheco is unsuccessful when he tries to use magic, but he stays diligent because learning magic is hard and patience is a must. There's also a green element woven throughout the story, focusing on preserving the environment and protecting animals. The story is exciting, relevant, and transporting. Great for student-teacher discussions in the classroom. And the last of our children's titles, we're proud to introduce some revolutionary women in authentic and gritty stories. Latina Superheroes is a new series publishing June 10th in simultaneous paperback and hardcover, and in English and Spanish for readers ages 13 and up. This is the first book of 3, with 2 stories in each book, each one focusing on one character. In the first book, readers meet Jalisco and Santa. Jalisco is searching for her mother in the outskirts of Guadalajara. Her mother disappeared suddenly. But she doesn't just search for her mother. She avenges and fights for all the other missing girls and women. Her fight is revolutionary as she speaks for the missing. On the other hand, Santa is not fond of the government on the Texas-Mexico border. She sees so much corruption in the system and fights against political injustice. She wants to be free. Her people want to be free, and she will do anything it takes to make that happen. This is a story of courage and fighting for what you believe in. We think you'll love being enveloped in the raw emotion of a fight for what's right story. The fierce characters in this universe, known as A la Brava, show readers that superheroes don't have to be bulky men and women don't have to be damsels in distress. The story is bold and fiery, with Latina women as the superheroes, making their voices heard and affecting change. We think you'll find it to be a groundbreaking power surge. And next, we have our adult books. First up, The Innkeeper Chronicles, Volume 2, publishes January 28th. Welcome back to the inn. From the outside, Dinah DeMille is the epitome of normal, running a quaint Victorian bed and breakfast in Red Deer, Texas. But Dina is different. Her broom is a deadly weapon, and her inn is a magical lodging for intergalactic guests. Normal is a bit of a stretch. This is the second volume in Ilona Andrews' action-packed graphic novel adaptation of the popular Innkeeper Chronicles series. Think Men in Black meets Star Wars, but cozier. And it contains extra scenes that were not originally included in the novels. And next, we have The Curse of Monte Cristo, appearing April 15th. A classic tale of revenge and reclamation, reimagined with a horror twist. Horror. Rather than create just another retelling of Alexander Dumas's classic tale of revenge, David Dable and his team have used their own backgrounds and perspectives to rewrite the story in a way never conceived of before. Taking place a few decades before the original story and across the Atlantic Ocean in Haiti, the author team has breathed new life into this story that will ignite the imaginations of readers for years to come. And then we have I Hated You in High School, which publishes April 15th. 20-something Tessa has a dead-end job and the dream of a creative career that never quite seems to take off. When she's able to go home for the first time in years, she discovers that her parents have rented out the basement apartment to her high school nemesis, Olive Virtue. Tempers flare between the women during Tessa's stay, but an accident that traps them in the attic forces them to face their past and think about their future. From seasoned cartoonist Kathleen Gross, I Hated You in High School weaves classic romantic tension with a queer twist in this tale of love, redemption, and unexpected connections. And April 29th, if you're not a real dog owner until this book will help you find out if you are a real dog owner with clever and neatly illustrated comics about dog ownership. Comedy duo Jason Chatfield and Scott Dooley present a hilarious and comprehensive series of the most recognizable signs of dog ownership, all in New Yorker-style cartoons, from dog park politics to inevitable messes and all the fun and love in between. So that concludes both our children's and adult titles. I really appreciate the time to share these with you all. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Courtney. Next, we'll hear from Morgana Santilli and Ingrid Lorenzi. Morgana is the sales and marketing coordinator at Yen Press. She is a former comic shop manager and buyer and always particularly loved helping readers find their new favorite series. Other than reading manga, Morgana enjoys drinking lots of tea, snuggling with her 2 black cats, crocheting, and collecting too many books for her children's personal library. No such thing. Ingrid is the marketing assistant at Yen Press. A former bookseller and used book buyer at Strand Books, she is an avid fantasy reader and advocate for translated works. Aside from collecting old books and trying to win over her cat's affection, she spends her days scavenging for the best bubble tea places in the city and taking strolls in Central Park. Take it away, Team Yen Press.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. My name is Morgana Santilli. Once again, I'm the Sales and Marketing Coordinator at Yen Press, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Ingrid.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ingrid Lorenzi, the Marketing Assistant at Yen Press. Thank you so much for having us today.
For those of you who are unfamiliar, Yen Press is a publisher chiefly of manga, although we have branched out into light novels, Korean comics, and Korean novels, and comics and novels for the middle grade. But today I'm going to tell you, we're both going to tell you a little bit about what we've got coming up in the near future. Next slide, please. All right, first up, the guy she was interested in wasn't a guy at all. This just came out last week. We don't have the final book scan numbers on this yet, but I am almost certain this is our biggest debut of the year. This is a wonderful manga about Aya, who is a high school girl who is popular and friendly. And despite the fact that she has some really great friends, she has something a little different about her. She likes music that is maybe not as popular as what her friends like. So she frequents a CD shop, which are a thing in Japan, believe it or not, they still use CDs. And at this CD shop, she encounters an employee there who she kind of falls in love with. He's this cool guy, always wearing black, always wearing a mask, got great taste in music. But what she doesn't realize is that this guy she's falling in love with at the CD shop is actually her female classmate who sits next to her in class. Mitsuki, her classmate, kind of figures out that she's the object of her classmate's affections, and she does not know what to do about it. Again, this just came out last week. It's great for ages 13 and up. The artwork is incredible, and one of the things that I love about this is that the entire thing is published in black, white, and green. Next slide, please. As you can see, here are the main characters. On the right-hand side, you see them at the CD shop. Aya's kind of eyeing the guy behind the counter. And then on the next page, you see, Mitsuki's realized what's going on, and she doesn't know what to do about it. Next slide, please. This is a great read for anybody who loves queer romances, of course. Other Yuri titles or girls' love titles like I Don't Know Which Is Love or Catch These Hands. We have a lot of girls' love titles coming out down the line as well. But mostly, I think this is a great read for anybody who's ever had kind of a crush they couldn't control on somebody they hardly knew. So that guy at the bookstore, like maybe that's a personal anecdote or maybe not. So yeah, I think this is a really wonderful read. Again, wonderful art. This is a big one for us. I think a lot of people are going to be looking for this, and we are all super excited about it. Next slide, please. Take it away, Ingrid.
All right. So instead, I'm presenting a title that is about to come actually very soon. April showers bring May flowers. This is a shoujo manga that features a very timid high schooler, but that maybe just like us likes to read the shoujo manga in her spare time. Next slide, please. However, sometimes you see reality can be really harsh on our fantasies. You see, Hana, the protagonist, she has a great challenge in front of her. She thinks herself as kinda ugly, and despite her love for shoujo manga, she doesn't think she'd be fit to be a protagonist like the ones that she always reads about. Until she encounters just the right guy who is set to change her mind. Next slide. Enter Yosuke, the very popular and very kind classmate who discovers that Hana, our protagonist, is the one tending to the garden of the school. Of course, she gets very embarrassed when she finds this out. However, Yosuke is just so kind and also just so charming that he decides to make this shared secret, something that they will share together. They will encounter themselves pretty often by this garden. And needless to say, this secret will bring these two a lot closer than what Han anticipated. Next slide. So if you like budding love stories that tackle body positivity and also look at the teenage angst and insecurity through a fun but respectful lens, then we highly recommend this title. Next. All right, so this is also another big one. Morgana first presented She Likes Gays But Not Me. We have the boys love equivalent, let's say, as in terms of a great title. Fans of our Ice Press imprint, which publishes Korean comics and soon also novels, has published the tie to you. That was our first Korean boys love story. So if you like that and if you're familiar with that, you should be incredibly excited to hear that we're bringing to print one of our hottest BL titles of the moment. Semantic Error is a fun and dramatic series that follows two college students as they first become rivals and then fall in love, all because of a final presentation gone wrong. Next slide. So this is the type of a polar opposites attract type of story, with a very logical and strict protagonist, and instead a very spontaneous, more daredevil-like type of love interest. Next. So you do get a lot of a bickering between these two, also because Jae Young, the male love interest, is not the type to take it down to really just be a punch bag. He has his own pride. And in fact, he kind of sees our protagonist, Sang-woo, as a challenge and vows to be the biggest nuisance possible to him. Next. Again, this is a very passionate and very sweet love story with incredible chemistry between the two male leads. The first volume comes out this November, the 19th. So if you really love boys' love stories and are also attracted to the type of K-drama like of intense stories, this is a title that you want to make sure to pre-order for your patrons. Next.
All right, I'm going to hop back in to tell you a bit about Ubelblatt Deluxe Edition. So some time ago, we printed Ubelblatt in regular paperback volumes, but we are going to be reprinting this dark fantasy series in these deluxe hardcovers. Ubelblatt, for those who are unfamiliar, is a dark fantasy series again following Koinzil, a mysterious young boy who carries a black sword. He's got a whole lot of skill, and there's this kind of quest he's on to see where he stands in this dark fantasy world. It's a really incredible epic series. There is an anime adaptation coming in winter 2025. Next slide, please. As you can see, there's our old edition that we printed some time ago. I would think about these Ubelblatt Deluxe editions as similar to the Berserk Deluxe editions that Dark Horse is putting out, or the Vinland Saga Deluxe editions that Kodansha has put out. So these are going to be big hardcovers. They're going to be double volumes, I believe. So I'm sorry, triple volume. So this first volume is volumes 0 through 2. So nice, big, chunky book. You get a lot of the story. And again, there's going to be an anime adaptation in winter 2025, I believe in January. So this is very timely. This book will be coming out in December. It is for adult audiences, so definitely take that into consideration when selecting this for your patrons. Next slide, please.
All right, and back again from our Ice Press imprint. This title, Man of the Harem, is all about leveling the playing field. Because if in the past an emperor could have had multiple wives and concubines, who says that a female empress cannot do it too? So Man of the Harem follows Latrasil, a newly crowned empress who decides to 1. Get revenge on her past lovers. We need to stand that queen. 2. Establish a harem of powerful and handsome male lovers that will incite jealousy in all and every reader. And 3, investigate the death of her father, which will lead her down a very unsavory rabbit hole full of court plots and royal drama. Next slide. So if you like handsome guys and a very ruthless female lead, she has a bone to pick with her, I believe, older brother, and I assure you that will not end well. Then you need to pick up this December release. Also, if you have enjoyed The Remarried Empress, then you're in luck because this story comes from the same author. So this is another amazing romantasy title that you want to add to your shelves and something that your patrons will probably ask about. Next slide.
Last but not least, Hell is Dark with No Flowers. This is the manga adaptation of a light novel that we also publish at Yen. This is another one of my kind of favorites, a really exciting one to me. This isn't coming out until January, so we have a little bit of time on this. But this story focuses on Seiji, who is able to see the people around him as monsters. And what he comes to discover when he comes upon a huge European mansion one day and meets Shiroshi Saijo is that he is seeing people's sins wrought in front of him in the form of monsters. And he is kind of roped into helping Shiroshi solve these mysteries and figure out what these sins are and condemn the sinners to hell. This is a really great, fun series for anybody who loves dark stories, horror stories. Next slide, please. Again, we have the light novel edition of this. Anybody who loves Phantom Tales of the Night, which is another one of ours, or if you remember the series Pet Shop of Horrors, that's another great similar title. This is a 16 plus story. It's going to be a little bit dark. It's going to be a little bit violent, but it's a lot of fun. So even though Halloween is coming up and this will come out far after the fact, I think if you have patrons who love a spooky story and some great monsters, this is definitely going to be a great read for them. Again, one of my favorites, one of the ones I'm most excited about. Next slide. And that's going to be all from us. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to email me, morgana.santilli@yenpress.com. Thank you so much again, and happy Halloween.
Thank you so much, Morgana and Ingrid. Finally, we'll hear from Katie Sain. Katie is the Director of Sales Book Market at Oni Press. She began her publishing career in the marketing department of Lion Forge Comics, where she helped launch best-selling and critically acclaimed graphic novels such as Brenna Thumler's Sheets, Maya Kobabe's Genderqueer, and Wendy Xu and Suzanne Walker's Mooncakes before joining the Oni Press team in 2019. When she's not sharing her love of great reads, she's most likely to be found hiking with her rambunctious pup or taking on a new DIY project. Thanks for joining us, Katie.
Thank you so much. And hello, everybody. It's great to be here with you all again today. Like was said, I am the Director of Sales for the book market here at Oni Press. And Oni is a company that's been around for over 25 years now. And I guarantee you have a lot of our books on your shelves, things like the Tea Dragon Society, Scott Pilgrim, Genderqueer, Mooncakes, and all kinds of other wonderful titles. So without further ado, we will launch into what we've got for you today. So next slide, we're going to show off Mr. Muffin's Defender of the Stars by Ben Kahn and Giorgio Brooks. Next. Mr. Muffins follows an 11-year-old boy and his pet corgi, who they're having a normal, ordinary day in the park when a spaceship comes hurtling down and crashes, and the inhabitants inside come out and tell them that Mr. Muffins is their fated savior of the galaxy. Next. So now Mr. Muffins and his boy Reuben are dragged into this galactic war where belly rubs and the bonds between human and pet just might prove strong enough to save the day. Next. This has a lot of great themes like learning responsibility, tackling problems head on, loyalty, and friendship, and is perfect for fans of superpowered pet stories. So things like Mayor Goodboy, Catstronauts, Pepper Page Saves the Universe, Sidekicks, and things like that will love the adventures of Mr. Muffins. Next. And this story releases in January of 2025. Next. So our next title today is The Littlest Fighter by Joey Weiser. Next. And Ash is the littlest fighter. He has been battling all of these giant monsters throughout all of the towns surrounding him to gain status as the strongest fighter around. And until one day when the only fighter left to defeat is the legendary champion. But the legendary champion is very hard to find. Next. So Ash and his friend set out on a quest to find the legendary champion, but when he does, he's met with a very surprising realization. The legendary champion no longer wants to fight. He's taken up a life of peace and gardening. He's enjoying himself. Next. And so the littlest fighter has to come to a lot of realizations about what it means to be a fighter and a protector of a village. It's packed with all of these heartwarming themes about using your strengths to help others, friendships, and sacrifice for the greater good. Next. So with a lot of kaiju monsters and big expressive panels, this series is sure to keep pages turning even for your most reluctant readers, and it releases in March of 2025. Next. Our next title today takes us into the YA space with Hey Mary by Andrew Wheeler and Rye Hickman. Next. Hey Mary is a very nuanced and heartfelt look at the intersection of queer identity and religion as one questioning teen seeks advice from all kinds of figures in his life, his friends, his priest, his local drag queen, and most importantly, the saints and angels who come alive and speak to him about what he's going through as he's trying to reconcile his identity with his religious beliefs. And he ultimately comes to this conclusion that faith and queerness are not exclusive. Next. So Hey Mary takes a very pondering, not preaching approach to religious identity and sexual identity. It doesn't shy away from covering topics like how religion can be twisted to suit an agenda or homophobia and hypocrisy, which often exist in religious settings. But it does shine a light on some of the lesser known queer aspects of religion and Catholic history with figures like Michelangelo and Joan of Arc and plenty more. Next. So one of the themes that really emerges throughout this story is that even if the people of your faith might reject you, your faith itself doesn't, and you don't have to reject your faith. It's a message that I haven't quite seen handled in this way before. Next. But it was based a lot on the creator's personal experiences growing up in religious households as queer people. So we're anticipating this book to start a lot of really important conversations when it releases in April. Next. Our next YA read today is a little bit more lighthearted and a whole lot of fun with Toxic Summer by Derek Charm. Next. So teenage best friends Leo and Ben are heading for the perfect hot boy summer, complete with perverted beach maniacs, sunscreen slick bods, and parties galore. Next. Only to show up at the beach and discover that it has been shut down due to a toxic spill that is turning all of the inhabitants into these slimy, tentacled sea creatures. Next. So this book is like Riverdale meets Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's set in an Amity Island-esque location, and it's just a pitch perfect mix of like humor, campy mystery, almost Scooby-Doo-esque, queer romance, and horror. Next. And this is by Eisner Award-winning creator Derek Charm. So he's really bringing his Archie style and humor to this radioactive read when it releases in April. Next. So moving into the adult section of the presentation today, our first title up is Soma by Fernando Lore and Carls Del Mal. Next. Soma is the story of a 24-year-old struggling comics artist who's kind of having trouble finding inspiration in her work when one day an alien comes crashing through her window and warns her of an impending invasion of his own kind. Next. So the alien actually wants to work with this artist to stop the invasion because he believes that there are still things in humanity worth saving. Next. So the two set off on this very epic adventure to save humanity and find inspiration along the way. And I gotta say, the art in this book is absolutely gorgeous. It's got a lot of manga sensibility, so it's going to appeal to fans of Studio Ghibli and manga like Don't Destroy Humanity. Next. So absolutely don't miss this sweet sci-fi tale when it releases next February. Next. Next up is El Fuego by David Rubin. And this is the story of an Earth-ending meteorite that's approaching Earth and the man who is tasked with ensuring humanity's survival by building a citadel on the moon. Next. And while he's up on the moon building this citadel, he's facing his own personal disaster as he's got a brain tumor, things come out about him that lead to social ruin, and he's really confronting all of the hells of the human soul. Next. So it takes this big cataclysmic event and funnels it through the lens of one man's personal cataclysmic event, which just makes it all the more poignant. Next. And this is very philosophical sci-fi, perfect for fans of Umbrella Academy, Cognetic, Day Tripper, and things like that. So definitely don't miss it when it releases in February. Next. Our next title is Station Grand by Craig Hurd McKinney and Noah Bailey. Next. Station Grand is existential space horror at its finest. It follows an isolated astronaut whose insomnia is leading to mental deterioration. Next. So combine that with a sentient computer whose data logs keeping mysteriously erased, and an otherworldly being who's potentially haunting the hatches of the ship, and you have a completely eerie, unsettling story that is going to really hit all of those space horror needs. Next. So hand this one to fans of Jeff Lemire's Sentient, Michael Conrad's Double Walker, and movies like 2001: A Space Odyssey, Alien, Pandorum, and Moon. Next. This one hit shelves in April. Next. So our next book today is Night People by Barry Gifford, and Chris Condon, along with a slew of fantastic artists, including Brian Level, Alexandra Tefengi, Arden Toplin, and Marco Finnegan. Next. So this is the first graphic novel adaptation of Barry Gifford's acclaimed novel. And Barry Gifford is a writer who's best known for his frequent collaborations with David Lynch on things like Wild at Heart and Lost Highway. Next. And Night People is a very gritty crime noir that's told in a series of 4 visceral and violent vignettes taking place in the Deep South. And it really is meant to expose the dark underbelly of American society. Next. So with that said, it does cover a lot of very sensitive topics like abortion, rape, incest, and murder. So we do recommend this for your most mature readers. But great to hand to fans of things like Preacher, Stray Bullets, and Hellblazer when it releases this February. Next. Our next title is Akugun, Brutalizer of Gods. Next. This is Black Panther meets Conan the Barbarian. So think Jason Aaron's Thor, God of Thunder, but with West African mythology. Next. It follows a man who has had everything he's ever loved ripped away from him, and he is on a quest for vengeance, striking down anything that stands in his way until the last thing standing in his way is Ogun, the fallen and disgraced god, who is also trying to claw his way back up to the top. Next. Akugun, Brutalizer of Gods is a very fresh take on African mythology from 2 award-winning African creators who have worked on titles like I Am Iron Man, Moon Knight, Black Panther, and more. So I can't wait for you guys to discover this book when it releases in March. Next. So winding down our presentation today, we have The Freak by Matt Luzanewski. Next. And this book was originally published in 2019, and we're excited to bring it back to a new deluxe hardcover edition so folks can discover Matt Luzanewski's Eisner Award-nominated story. Next. And if that name, Matt Luzanewski, sounds familiar to you, he is the creator behind Faceless in the Family, which was released earlier this year from Oni Press, and his wonderful black and white line art has really made an impact on the comics community. People just really want to pore over these pages and see all of that detail. And The Freak is the story of a man who's a societal outcast as he strives to find family and a place of belonging. Next. And so you can find this available in April. And last but not least, we have 2 continuing series coming out next spring. So first of all, Covenant, Lysandra Vung's hit webtoon turned print comic that follows an exorcist struggling with his faith tasked with protecting a seemingly normal human from rising demonic forces, has volume 3 releasing in April. And then The Hazards of Love Book 2 by Stan Stanley. Stan Stanley's first Hazards of Love had 3-starred reviews, and it was highly acclaimed. And we're so excited to get to dive back into this world. It's a Mexican Gothic underworld where the creatures there are flesh hungry, and one poor unsuspecting teen is trying to hustle their way back home. They got sent there after making a bad deal with the talking cat. So can't wait to see what happens in the Hazards of Love Book 2 when it releases in April. Next. And that is it for us today. Thank you all so much for your time. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me at katie@onipress.com, and we will talk soon. I'm going to hand this back over to our Booklist moderators today, but thank you all.
Thank you so much, Katie. And a big thank you to all of today's presenters. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, title list, certificate of completion, and video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. Attention, all library workers, educators, booksellers, and students. We have a special subscription offer exclusive to today's webinar attendees. Subscribe to Booklist now and stay on top of the latest books, glean readers advisory guidance, and get collection development advice through print and digital editions of Booklist and access to Booklist Online. Plus, our Booklist subscription now comes with free digital and shareable copies of our new product for patrons, Booklist Reader. Scan the QR code or visit our website for more details. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. One more huge thank you to our panelists and to our sponsors, Tuttle Publishing, Diamond Book Distributors, Andrews McMeel Publishing, Yen Press, and Oni Press. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.